What is up, guys? Heath with Lake Champlain Sanitation here, and this morning we got the high test. Stewart's Coffee. We got a real special trash talk episode for you guys today. This kind of came out of nowhere. I called the company a few days ago. They're only like 20 minutes south of me. They've been doing scrap metal for, they're gonna say it in the video, but I wanna say like 35, 40 years. They do demolition, roll-offs, they got big tri-axle trucks. Really awesome company, and they just bought like 10 tandem axle dump trucks this year to get into the trucking business of that. So we're super pumped. We're literally rushing down the highway. Nick's only got like 2 hours to record this video, but we're gonna get down there. We're gonna talk to Troy and Tanner. They are, I think, second or third generation owners of the business. Real cool family business dynamic. And yeah, really excited to bring you guys this one. As always, a little housekeeping shit. Like and subscribe to the channel if you like this content. Trying to really put a lot of effort into this, either be a monetary effort and time effort. These videos take a while. Nick's on the payroll. He wants to get paid. We want to get views. So without further ado, let's hop into this.
Moore Trucks, commercial delivery of decorative stone, asphalt, and sand. Home delivery also available. A division of Moore Recycling, serving northern New York and Vermont for over 50 years. More information at 518-834-7571.
Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough.
So guys, I'm down here with Tanner Barabee of Moore Recycling down in Keysville, New York. And we're going to get a little bit of his origin story. It's been, would you consider it a second or third generation? Third generation business. That's what we said in the intro on the way down in the truck, but I did want to confirm that and kind of talk about the humble beginnings that you and I spoke about, and then we'll get a grander picture as well as looking at some of your equipment that's in the yard, because I know not much of it is here right now because he moves a lot of trucks every day. So
they're out making money.
Let's start for sure. That's what we want him to be doing, wheels turning. And let's start with the origin story. We'll take it way back to what, 40 years ago, 50 years ago?
So we can take it back to 1945.
Let's go.
My grandfather just got out of the military. He had saved up all of his rations. Okay, he sold his cigarettes. He bought Chanel No. 5. He sent it back to my grandfather to sell here in town. Okay, and he had saved up about $2,800. First thing he did when he came back, bought a house for $2,500. Okay. So he bought a house. With the rest of the money, he always wanted to be a trucker. That was his thing. Growing up, he wanted to be a trucker. So his father was an iron worker. He would go and work with his father, do the iron work, but he wanted to be a trucker. So he bought his first truck, way light duty, under duty truck. He started hauling logs. First thing he did, broke his axle, broke his rear end. Had to go back to work an iron to pay to fix the truck. That's where it started.
Okay.
Fast forward a couple years, okay. He had made some money. He had 2 trucks, okay. My grandmother driving one, him driving the other one. And he built that business into the #1 supplier of Sherwood hockey sticks in Canada. Okay. So that took about 15 years. He built it way up. He did really, really well with it. Just like anything else, technology. What killed the wooden hockey stick? The fiberglass hockey stick.
Right. He had to pivot.
Right. So Sherwood hockey sticks doesn't need ash logs anymore because they're going to fiberglass hockey sticks. So that's where he pivots. That's where he gets more into the scrap metal.
Okay.
And About that time, like we were talking in the yard here, you know, scrap metal was building up. The farmer had 10 old, tractors behind his barn. The local guy had 2-3 junk cars in behind his garage. And the landfills are stockpiling this metal, all of this junk cars, everything. So that's where he excelled in the scrap metal business. At the number one the peak of his success, he had 15 mobile car crushers. Mm-hmm. He had about just under 50 guys working for him, and they were doing 2,000 tons a week.
2,000 tons a week.
We do 2,000 tons a month. Yeah.
So just real quick, and we won't go crazy down the numbers of back then because I know you weren't alive back then,
right,
knowing it.
Right.
But if you had to put a rough number in dollars back then, what would you have to say roughly a month? Now remember, this is still probably 20 years ago from today, right? This is probably 30 years ago.
Right, yeah. We're talking 19. So we're talking like 65 to 73, 74.
Okay.
So I can tell you, I don't know the exact numbers, but I can tell you the milestone in my grandfather's life, mm-hmm. which he used to always share with us. You know? He remembers when he, because he didn't use a lot of banks back then. It was different. It was different times.
Yep.
He remembers the milestone was when he was making $50,000 a week profit. Wow. And he would bring the money home. He would give it to my grandmother to put in the wall safe. And now through the wall safe, it was crazy, Wow. It's absolutely crazy to me.
Wow.
But he was a remarkable guy. He was an amazing mentor. And I always tell myself, like, if I could do 1/10 of what he did, we'll have very successful businesses, and they are successful, but you always want more. You always want to grow more efficiency, all that stuff. But
so that's amazing.
Obviously. It is amazing. It really is.
And times back then, as you guys know from watching the channel, probably a man wanted to work back then.
Yes.
A man was a man. Today, to find 50 men who want to get their hands dirty and work for one company is very hard.
Right.
He's got a good amount of men, but it's tough. But he's got a good foundation, and he's building multiple businesses that we're going to get into now. And that's where I want to talk about when you got into business, because it wasn't all peaches and cream with the towing business that you had.
Right.
Because Tanner, from what I understand, you went out kind of doing you were here, but you were doing your own thing too.
Right.
And then you came back and you blew this up to where it is now, scale wise. And let's just talk about when you first got into business and how long you've been on your own.
Okay. So first of all, I'd like to rewind a little bit. So I've been here in the scrap metal business since I was 3 days old. My mother,
not months, days.
My mother had me, and she was off 3 days, and she came back to work in the family business. And that's just the work ethic, that's what was pounded into our heads, work ethic, So I've been here since I was 3 days old. My grandfather ran it all up until his death. He still had his business at 88 years old, And that's one of the things I'd love to talk about is transitioning businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
I like it.
That's like the number one thing that fails, especially generation to generation.
Yep.
He was very good with teaching us how to be our own people, and work our own business and do our own thing. And so that's, I think, where a lot of our success comes from.
Yep.
We transitioned this business 3 times. It transitioned basically from my grandfather to my mother and me, and then to me and my brother. Yep. And it's hard. This is not easy. When you start something from the ground up, you're starting with one truck, you're starting with you and your one employee or whatever, and you can gauge that and build that. But when you're trying to transition a multi-million-dollar business that has been in business for so long, there's so many more challenges there.
Yep.
So many more challenges. And so really what happened was, as the transitions were taking place, like really from my grandfather to my mother, you know, there was some times when, you know, we weren't 32 employees. There wasn't a lot going on here.
Yeah.
You know, my grandfather had this huge business. My mother scaled it way, way down, so it was manageable for her.
Yeah.
And she understood everything that was going on.
Yeah.
And in that time frame, you know, I decided to go out and start another little business of my own, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where the entrepreneur thing is, you know, I saw opportunity, I went into it, I was very successful with it. And then, you know, when my mother was ready to upscale, I saw an opportunity to come back.
Yeah.
And, you know, I never left 100%. I always was here to help. I helped her in making a lot of good decisions, making, you know, stuff in the business work. But, you know, I knew it wasn't going to grow at the speed that I wanted it to grow at.
Yeah.
And it would be easier for me to go out and do my own thing for a little bit. And that's what I did. And I learned so much on that aspect. You know, I feel a little spoiled before because my mother and all the women in the office, they're doing the paperwork, they're doing the permits, they're the backbone of the company just as much as anybody else is.
Yeah.
And so when I went out and did my own business, hey, I'm the one doing the permits, I'm getting the DOT numbers, I'm doing all this stuff. Like, I have such a better understanding and respect for the women that are in this office. We have 4 women in our office now that run our day-to-days, and I mean, it's amazing what they do.
That is.
It is amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, you definitely learn a lot when, you know, the business is on your own about efficiencies and all types of other things that when the structure's there, you don't really notice as much. And you've put so much efficiency.
Right.
As, you know, we're going to go outside right now, guys, and show you a little bit about the cars, some of his trailers that he uses, a nice scale house that he built that's elevated to see the yard. And also a little oopsie with the window of that Cat 330. So we'll
that happens.
shit you run into. So we're gonna run outside quick, guys, and then we'll come back in and we're gonna talk about what Tanner's doing now and some plans for the future. Outside right now, guys, and as you guys can see, we got some cars behind us that are getting smashed up. And was this like one of the first things back in the day? Was this common more back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, or is it more common now, would you say?
No, it was a lot more common back when my grandfather started it, obviously. Back there in the 60s, you know, everybody had 2-3 cars behind their house. The landfills, they used to put all the junk cars in a pile on the side. And that's sort of where my grandfather excelled. He saw the scrap metal building up, and he was one of the first ones that really capitalized on that. I mean, it started with, you know, he would go in, and a lot of the times the landfills would give him the scrap metal. So he would go in, he would crush the cars, he would pile them up, and then he would sell them to the steel mills directly. And then it became, okay, he had to pay $5, and then some of the old timers remember that you know, used to work here say, oh, he paid $10 a ton, you know. Today we're paying $105 a ton, and I mean, it's low right now. I mean, we paid up to $250 a ton in the last, you know, 3 years.
Wow. So the market, and that's the thing with this, guys, is like and I'm sure most of you guys watching this that clicked on the video because you saw the scrap metal part of it, is this is a commodity. Garbage is more of like a recurring service-based revenue stream, where steel, from what I can understand with my small knowledge of it, and scrap metal business is super commoditized, to where I've been down here with Tanner before, and he'll pick up a cord of an air conditioner and be like, this is worth X amount of pound, and then this part of it's worth X amount of pound. So there's a lot more variables in this business than just, say, picking up like trash. So
It's an export market. That's really what it is. You know, there aren't that many steel mills in the United States anymore. So all this scrap metal is going to, well, it used to go to China. It doesn't go to China as much as it used. It's going to Turkey. It's going to India now. They're taking our scrap metal. They're using 75% scrap metal and 25% new iron ore, and they're making new steel that then is shipped back to the United States, you know? So that's what it is. It's a foreign market. All of our scrap metal is really priced by the export price.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it's crazy.
That's awesome. So right now, guys, we're up in the tower, and I'm gonna let Tanner take it away with this because it's pretty cool, like bird's eye view of the yard, and I'm assuming that's why you built it.
Yeah, well, this is sort of unique, I think, for the scrap metal world. This is where our weight master is at all times. So we have our 75-foot scale here to our left. All of the scrap metal coming in here is on the scale. Obviously, we're getting tractor trailer loads at a time. We're buying roll-offs. We can see down into the loads, okay? So we want to be able to see what's in those loads, and then obviously they go to the appropriate pad or wherever they dump, and then I visually have another guy inspect it. We don't want any propane tanks. We don't want any paint cans. We don't want any hazardous material. So this is one of the reasons why we built this, so we can see into loads. Second reason is, obviously, the person can run the whole yard from right here. If you look around here, we have somebody in the tin pile right now with a Cinnaboggan. He's separating and loading material. We have the number 1 pile, the P&S pile. Everything can be ran from this location. The weigh master is very important, I think, to the direction of the yard, how it's flowing.
Yep.
Like I said, once again, you want to be efficient. Everything's got to be efficient.
Now, is this position unique in the industry in general? Did you guys make this position, or in bigger cities?
Usually it's a full-size building.
Yep.
They have like a window, you can look out of,
Yep.
but this actually we built all in recycled material,
Awesome.
so all these windows came out of an old bank in Plattsburgh here. The steel to make the structure came in from the yard, and then basically, we built a little structure around it. And the stairs, our stainless steel stairs, they came out of the Air Force Base in Plattsburgh,
Wow.
I mean, you in the scrap metal business, you learn to use what you got, so.
That is definitely efficiency, guys. And, we're big on that on the channel about being efficient. That's a new level of efficiency.
Right.
So especially with, you built this a while ago, but with building shit the way it is now.
Absolutely.
That's awesome, dude. Well, cool. Yeah, this is sick.
Getting hit.
Right. Stopped you from getting hit, but you did smash the windshield. But we'll get that fixed. Those are the little things in life that.
It came flying pretty
Yeah.
fast,
Well,
So what happened?
Well, I'm shearing some metal. There's some big pins that you can't be sheared, but you can shear around.
Yep.
And a chunk of metal just come flying at you.
Right.
By the time you realize it, the window was cracked. It's like
Yeah.
smashed. So
that's
Wow.
something that happens. That's why when you have a rotating shear, you actually try to shear away from you, and it goes away, and then hopefully anything that flies out flies that way instead of back towards the cab. But
Wow.
these are little things that happen in the scrap world that.
How many years do you get out of a shear head like that?
Well, the machine itself, we keep for 10 years, but we're constantly every week doing work on these, maintaining them,
It's got to
keeping
be
them up.
greased every 8 hours. And
Yep.
Every
Like the
8
blade.
hours?
and you got to check your gaps between the shear tip and everything.
Okay.
If not, then you get metal caught into it, and that's a big mistake.
Huh.
Found it out the hard way.
Interesting.
Well, I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was sick seeing all that stuff outside. I didn't really realize it from driving by, breaking it down is pretty cool. So can you give us like a lay of the land of present day? First off, like, what are you doing? What's your week look like? I know you're still like in the business a lot.
Absolutely.
Not maybe I saw you in a truck yesterday,
Yeah.
actually. So
We had a guy bang in. I had to go into the truck. I've been in the truck for 2 days.
So let's
I had to get done.
talk about, I know you said 32 employees, but let's just talk about fleet count of trucks and what the main 3-4 businesses that you own are now.
Okay. So currently I have 3 businesses, me and my brother. We have a scrap metal business, which we're the 3rd generation in. We have a rail yard that does transloading that me and my brother started from the ground up in 2017. So we do bulk unloading of rail cars there. And then really this year we started the trucking business. We have 12 trucks that truck asphalt every single day in the summer, and so we're about 32 employees right now we're managing, and it's going well.
And I know they're not here, but you also have the roll-off business, which is part of the scrap metal
Right.
business, but you also do some demolition and stuff like that.
Right. Being an entrepreneur, you do what comes your way.
Yeah.
So we have about 100 roll-offs. Originally, they were scrap metal roll-offs. That's sort of another place where we
diversified from what my grandfather used to do. He just did scrap metal.
Yep.
And his business was big enough you could do it. Now you got to be diversified. You know that. And so we have a roll-out box. That roll-out box doesn't know if it has scrap metal in it. It doesn't know if it has C&D in it. It doesn't know, if it's hauling stone for a customer.
Yep.
So this one truck that was always hauling scrap metal now is hauling 4, 5, 6 things now. So
Yep. And then an excavator that you might use here could be used to demo a building.
Absolutely.
He's just multi-purposing equipment, guys, and like you said, being diversified in today's day and age. I mean, it's good to focus on one thing to get it to where it's running, where the revenue is consistently coming in. But if you can use one piece of equipment to make 2 to 3 to 6 sources of revenue, that's gonna pay for that equipment, put the money back in your pocket so much faster than if you just use it on that one thing and just wait for the phone to ring. So that's awesome. We do that on a very small scale in our business, like you guys have seen. But I really like that. Now for the future, what do you think the future of more recycling? I know South Junction Enterprises, guys, I don't want to skip over this. That's the name of his other business. We will do a follow-up video of the rail yard because I think it's an interesting,
so cool.
Amazing concept.
Yeah.
I've never seen one before until I met Tanner and hung out with him some more. So, but what's the future of? We'll just stick to the more recycling and your trucking business for right now.
So the future of the scrap metal business, I think that the reality of it is we have to look at more recycling. So we've had something in our hat for a while. I really, really like it. It's just the startup cost is so expensive. But we really would like to get into wood recycling.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be huge. I mean, with everything being recycled now, I would love to get into, something like that. But you're talking $1.5 million, $2 million startup just for the equipment.
Yep.
I can use some of the equipment I already have, but for that one machine. But I think if we can make it work, I think it'll be another successful part of more recycling for sure.
Awesome. Yeah. And that's a whole nother. If you do get into that, we'll probably maybe we can watch the story. That'll be very, very interesting. And do you have any plans to add any more dump trucks or?
Yeah. So we currently we're running 5 dump trucks and 5 flow boys.
Yeah.
We had a very successful year. So this is a new business to us. One thing that we knew of, but until you really get into it, this season is only 26 weeks long.
Yeah.
So it's not like, every single day. So we're going to be making year round. So, but we had a very successful season. We plan on maybe adding 2 or 3 more, I think, in the spring. And right now, currently, we're looking at doing other things with the trucks. I've talked to some other buddies in the industry, trucking industry. They might need some help hauling fuel out of Canada this winter. We talked to some other companies we sub for, big garbage company. They might have some garbage move out of Albany to Clinton County landfill.
Yeah.
So, you have to use your contacts and the people you've built in your Rolodex, to keep all these things going. A lot of moving parts with these sides of businesses,
That's just it. Well, I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
A truly amazing story, guys. I told them we gotta keep the video to a certain amount of time because we've talked for 2 hours before, and we could go on forever. And if you guys do want to follow up, definitely put it in the comments below because I think we're going to do one on South Junction, and maybe we do another part of the business when he does have some roll-off trucks in the yard. And can do that down the road. But for now, man, I really appreciate it.
It was great
glad
to
to
see
get
you.
you on, and you
you.
as well. And hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, smash that like button, hit that subscribe. And this wraps up this Trash Talk episode. We'll see you next time.